Yo, yo, what's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, of
having me.
course, man. Are you recording your audio?
Let me start it right now.
Oh,
Yeah, it's recording.
sick. Well, yeah, man. How you been? How you doing? There'll be like a big fucking intro thing that my manager usually takes care of before this. So he'll be like,
Okay.
Anomalie is like this guy, and people will know who you are before
Okay, sounds
this.
good. I've been very good, dude. I've been set up in this space now since like early July. So it's super nice, dude. I'm finally able to make some noise, which was something that had been missing from my life for the past few years. Uh, so most of my days are spent here. I'm still learning a lot, but it's very fun. That's
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
Were you couldn't make noise because you were living in like an apartment or something?
Yeah, exactly. I was, once in a while I could switch to speakers, but any recording was like not really possible. I could do a little bit, but I was mostly on headphones. But I've been wanting to, get a real piano for a while and kind of like dive into drums and that kind of stuff. So I was able to like dive really fully in with this project. So it's very, very fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. The space looks great. It's cool to
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, it looks awesome just having like a fully mic'd piano there all the time.
Ah, dude, it's amazing. And how you've been, dude? So where are you right now? I think you're not in Denver anymore, right?
No, I moved to San Francisco. Are you still in Montreal?
Yep, yes, still in Montreal. Oh, that's fantastic. And so how long have you been in this space you're in right now?
In this particular space, about a year, but in San Francisco, in total, about 2 years.
Okay, gotcha. And how do you
Yeah,
like it?
it's awesome, man. I love San Francisco. It's so cool.
Nice.
Do you find so there's like a few markets I feel like around the United States that are kind of tough to like get crowds in. And two of
Gotcha.
those markets I feel like San Francisco and New York. They're like big cities, but they're like kind of tough, I've found at least for electronic music. But because your stuff is like so jazzy, you probably do well in both of these cities, right?
New York has been doing pretty well. I think San Francisco we played twice. I think it did fine, but obviously there's no correlation. Like it just
Yeah.
happens. But I think I remember that both of our shows were like pretty like low energy as far as like the crowds went, which
Mm.
isn't necessarily related to the city. It just happened to be that way. But I know that just stuck with me. But
From
you
San
don't really.
Francisco.
Yeah, yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's because it's in San Francisco. It just happened to be that crowd. It might be like the sound conditions or the venue. Like
Mm. Where did you
it
play here?
happens. Where do we play? Uh, I need to dive back into my dates. I forgot the name of the of the
Might have been
venues.
like the Great Northern or the Midway or UC Theater or
Oh,
something.
I think the Midway. The Midway rings a bell. That
Midway, yeah,
rings a bell.
the Midway is cool.
Nice.
Yeah, San Francisco is an odd city in terms of playing shows because
Right.
the crowd is just a little bit older. Like it's not kids.
Mm,
Whereas I find a lot of other cities, they're like college cities or
yeah.
cities that have yeah, just a lot of kids in them. Like Denver, for instance, you go to a show and like the mean age of the patrons in the crowd are like maybe 22, 23 years old.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
whereas you come to San Francisco, the mean age of everyone in the crowd is like 30 to 35 years old because like everyone just, they're all like in tech and working at Google and Facebook and shit.
Yeah, absolutely. That must definitely make a difference.
Totally. Yeah. So I think like you can kind of tell the difference in energy between like a really young crowd and like a slightly older crowd. The slightly older
That
crowd
that
is
makes
definitely,
total sense. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. How's
nice.
how's Montreal? Is it probably really hot right now, right?
At this time of the year, it's starting to get cold. Uh, the start of fall. Well, it honestly it varies like pretty drastically from a year to another with climate change and all. Sometimes it's super hot, sometimes it's super cold. Now it's like kind of normal fall cold that's just starting to get in. But it's nice. It's been obviously like a little bit all over the place with the pandemic. But it's like kind of under control right now with like a lot of events starting again, obviously with more conditions and stuff that you need to make sure is okay. I think like my girlfriend went to Oshiaga. I don't know if you know Oshiaga, like one of the big music festivals in
Yeah.
Montreal. She went there yesterday with some friends, and like basically wherever you go, like from a section to another, you need to get like a certain check and show your tickets and passes, and like everything is like monitored, and also, it's like well, I guess it's like that in a lot of places, but like
This is for because of COVID, right?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Trying to keep everything in check, or I don't know.
Yeah. Do
But
you have like a Vax card or something like that?
yeah, like on the province level, so like kind of like a state level,
Mhm.
it's mandatory everywhere in the country, but it's not like one like ID for the country. It's just for the state, which is interesting.
Huh.
But
Yeah, that is.
yeah,
It's kind of like a driver's license or something.
yeah, because in the states it's for the whole country, right? It's on the federal level.
Yeah. So what we do is we have this website, and it spits out a QR code that looks like this. I just set
Right.
it as my lock screen on my phone so I can like quickly get it out.
Nice.
And whenever you go into a restaurant here, they're supposed to scan it, but they on it. I haven't had it scanned once. I just pull it out and
Really?
show them the QR code, and they're always like, "Yeah, that's fine," and they just let me in.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
and that it's been like months, and I have no one scanned it. And I like went to all this effort to
Really?
make like a custom lock screen background and everything.
You went through all the effort. Yeah, I guess like for us, like we have an app, and then not only do they scan it, they also ask for a separate piece of ID. Like in
Oh
all the
shit!
restaurants and bars I've been to for the past like
Just to
month,
make
I
sure
think.
that it is actually you,
Yeah, because there's
man.
been some reports of like hackers, or I don't know.
I
Interesting.
heard that people at the Unts Festival, so the Unts Festival, which was in like June or something, was
Uh-huh.
kind of like the first big festival back. I feel like, at least for me, it was. And I played that one in, I want to say, yeah, I think it was early June. But
Okay.
to go in there, you either had to have a negative, I think a negative test and a vaccination card, or a negative test or a vaccination card. And
Right.
apparently, I heard rumors of people out the front like selling like counterfeit vax cards.
Tests or Vax cars. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Because the vax
Oh my
cards here,
God.
I'll show you what they look like here. They're like really not that hard to forge. It's literally like a little piece of cardboard that just like
Okay, yeah,
has
that's like
some writing on it.
damn.
Yeah, it's like a piece of like literally a piece of paper that just has some writing on it.
Wow.
So like, yeah, I could so easily like just get a piece of A3 cardboard or something from a hobby store and
Totally.
just like, yeah, I could forge this for sure.
That's crazy. Damn.
The other thing is like I got my two shots, right? I got one shot on April 1st, and it looks like my second shot was on April 29th.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when I go onto the website, it says I've only had one shot. So I think I can go
Uh
back and get another if I want, and then have the booster shot.
like the third dose.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's apparently a thing that you're supposed to do eventually, right? Is get a booster.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I know they're discussing like possibilities of like yearly shots. I don't know if we're there still, but we'll see how the virus evolves.
Yeah, the Delta and Lambda variants are pretty pretty shitty looking.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't cause too much stress. But yeah, I feel like people in America at least have just gotten to a point of like, fuck it. Like everyone has just
Yeah.
felt like they've been so oppressed for so long with the lockdowns, even though the lockdowns here were like not that bad. I felt um definitely not as bad. I feel like as like I feel like Australia right now is in this weird police state sort of situation where people can only leave their houses for like 2 hours a day to get
Oh
groceries and
wow.
exercise. And yeah,
Damn, I
and
had no idea. That's crazy.
and I think they can only leave between certain hours, and I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's a
Huh.
really weird situation. We didn't have anything like that here,
Right.
thankfully. But yeah, I think in general, people overall are just like, fuck this. I feel like I've been oppressed for too long with this bullshit, and I just can't be bothered dealing with it anymore. So people are like, fuck it, I'll get sick. Who gives a shit? And like, they've just kind of got this fuck this like attitude towards the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like here we had like three or 3 or 4 months of curfews, which like wasn't too bad. I guess like it kind of made sense to try stuff when the numbers were getting crazy. Um, I personally like was like kind of like what you seem to say you were experiencing. I wasn't like too affected by it. I was able to do stuff that I was planning on doing anyways.
Mm.
Um,
Like
but
make
you know,
albums and
obviously it
stuff.
was yeah, but obviously it was weird.
Did you were you financially okay during the pandemic?
Yes, very fortunately I was like because I was already basically taking a break from touring
Mm.
when COVID hit, and I was planning on writing this next chapter. I did like run into some challenges as far as like motivation and kind of like a little bit of panic on a writing side. Like I felt like I was blocked, so I took some time off and from music, which was really helpful. And then I came back in and got started and excited again. But other than that, my main income stream was still there. I'm pretty much into investing on the side as well, so that was kind of doing well, surprisingly, and
Mm.
all of that combined made it really okay. So
Do you invest mostly in like stocks or mostly in crypto?
I got a little bit of crypto, but mostly stocks. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I feel like stocks and like being a stock investor is one of those things that some people who just have a really busy brain get really into. Like for instance, Hikaru Nakamura, who's like I think he's like the #1 blitz chess player in the world, is
Wow,
also just like an incredibly good investor
that's so
because
cool.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If you're like the best chess player in the world, you're also like a really good investor
That
because
makes
you're like,
total
oh,
sense
if
for
this
sure.
happens, then this will happen, and then that will happen, and then like,
Yeah, exactly. Damn,
yeah,
that's
I've
crazy.
tried to
I'm
get
not
in.
on that level. It's very much very passive, but it's there still.
Yeah, do you just do sort of like the index funds and bonds and shit like that?
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's like a safe bet. That you just put your money in there so it's not depreciating basically over time. Uh,
Exactly.
this is the thing that I didn't fucking even understand at all until like a couple of years, not even a couple of years ago. I feel like I figured this out during the pandemic. Is that like every year the uh, the more money gets printed, basically,
Hmm.
and the more money that gets printed devalues the money that's in your bank account.
Exactly. The savings
So
account are your enemy, basically.
yeah,
You don't
exactly.
want anything in there.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I mean, I'm just so fucking bad with money. I feel like I'm like, yeah, I'm just bad with numbers in general that don't equal 4, 8, or 12 or whatever. Like just musical interval numbers is kind of the only shit I deal with on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, dude.
But yeah, so I learned about inflation and I was like, oh man, shit. So you have to like hedge against inflation basically by
Exactly.
investing in things.
Yeah.
So then your money is like accruing value whilst the money is devaluing. It kind of just all evens out in the end, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, there are cases where you actually do generate money from it, but the main goal is to not have it, you know, go down,
Yeah,
obviously.
not have your money be worth less.
Yeah.
Totally. That's cool that you're into that, man. That's smart. And that's why you were financially okay during the pandemic because you took a smart route.
Yeah, well, it would definitely help. I've been into that for a while, but always like pretty passive, like we just said. Were you okay during during the pandemic?
Yeah, luckily I was. So I have my website, which where I like
Right.
teach people how to make music, and I like give away a
Yeah,
bunch of sample packs on there and stuff like
that's
that.
so
And
cool.
yeah, that was enough to keep me going, luckily, which was awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, I man, honestly, I feel really guilty, but I really liked having all that time off to just like write music and uh yeah, there was like nobody calling me to be like, hey, like want to come and do this thing, and then not having to feel guilty about saying I couldn't do it or something, or having to make excuses because it, yeah, there was just this really nice chilling vibe at home all the time. And I know like I'm in probably the top 10% of luckiest people on the planet or something that were able to even do this, but um yeah, I had a great time and wrote an
I
album
totally
just.
get that. Oh yeah, dude.
So what's your living situation like now? Are you in a house or still an apartment?
Yeah, so I'm in a house with my girlfriend, and so this is the basement. that I was able to convert into the studio. So it took like 2 months and a half, or close to 3 months, to get the studio set up. Um, but it was very, very much worth it. Like, I can play at night and not have to worry about neighbors and stuff. So it's really,
Mm.
really cool. I'm a little bit like slightly further away from the center of the city than I was before, but it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, 90% of your time is probably spent at home anyway, right? So like,
Exactly.
why live closer to the center of the city just for the extra 10% of the time
There you
you want to
go.
be
And
outside?
I mean, if needed, I'm still on the island. It takes a little bit more time to go see shows and stuff, or friends that are closer to the center, but it's still very much doable. So
Yeah, seems
it's
like
not.
a worthy trade-off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Did you do much streaming and stuff during the pandemic?
Yeah. So from October of 2020 to March, I moved in April. So to for like 6 months, I did 2 streams a week on Twitch. Then I took a break to get settled in to the new space. And then I started again in July, but only once a week,
Mm.
uh, to kind of focus on finishing the album. I mean, 2 days a week isn't too crazy, but I don't know, just the mental space and energy outside of the actual streaming time. I'm really, really focusing on finishing this project until like late December or something. That's at least the current plan for now. How
Yeah,
about you? Have you
nice.
been streaming as well?
Not as much lately, just because I've like been going through a bunch of personal issues and shit, and
Ah,
like
sorry to hear that, man.
that's fine. Yeah, I think I'm like starting to get over it now, so that's good. Um,
Okay.
yeah, just a bunch of like mental health crap and addiction stuff and all this bullshit. I dealt with it last year during the pandemic. I feel like once a year I have like a big problem for like a few months, and then I'm like,
Gotcha.
and then I figure it out again, and then the next year I like have another big problem for a couple of months. It's just part,
It's so important
part of
to
life.
take care of that and allow yourself some space and time to work on that, because it's
Yeah,
everything else depends on that.
exactly. Yeah, if you're not fit for service, you can't help anyone.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, man. Sorry. Yeah. I guess. Wait, what did you ask again?
Before, I don't know.
Oh,
I
whatever. It doesn't
think
matter.
oh, if you were streaming,
Oh,
streaming.
if I was streaming, right? Yeah.
Right.
So during the pandemic, I was while I was working on my album, I was streaming like a couple of times a month. Like not,
Right.
I wasn't. It wasn't like any set schedule or anything. I've never
Gotcha,
really.
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like one of those people who hates having a schedule, which is kind of why I developed my life slash my job the way that I did, just because I'm one of those people who's like, I don't want to have to wake up at a certain time and like go, I don't want to have to be places at a certain time or whatever. And yeah, like
Yeah.
the hardest part of my job literally is like getting to a show on time and getting there. Other than that, it's like just sitting in the studio, like mucking around with synths and shit like that. Um,
Beautiful.
Speaking of which, I wanted to ask you, like, what's your process for writing an album? Because you kind of like sit on the edge of jazz and electronic music, I feel like. Do you do like dedicated sound design sessions or anything like that? Or do you kind of like jam out on like the drum kit and the piano and stuff and then record those in and then sort of refine them? Or like how does your process work?
Well, a mix of all of that you mentioned. I definitely take some time every week to come up with some new patches. I've been also like sharing some of them online, not like as in an not in like an I don't know how to say this, not as like elaborated as the structure that you seem to have on your website with the lessons and all, which is amazing. I probably completely botched the way I approached the sentence. I'm sorry, but
No, no, I understand what you mean. It's like
okay,
you
cool.
haven't released the presets as like a professional pack of presets or anything. You just kind of
No,
share them
exactly. It's
randomly,
like a
right?
bunch of little tiny packs, basically,
Yeah,
and
nice.
but it's been fun. And then rather like it's because basically on the Twitch streams, I do like basically make music with an audience, basically, and it's the way I approach it on the streaming is like pretty close to what actually happens most of the time, where very often I'll start with drums, and then like have a bunch of recent sounds ready, and then basically just have a palette that's already there sonically, and then try to build from there. And eventually I'll switch to the piano and then play over that. And then once I have like an initial riff or something, I will sorry um what was I saying? Well, yeah, once I have like an initial riff, I'll like usually like remove some layers and try to prioritize a sound or have everything switch to the piano. So that's what happens most of the time. But then in certain cases, if I'm trying to develop a theme that I already recorded somewhere that I noted and I wanted to arrange, I'll start with that and then have everything kind of follow that. In many cases, if it's a specific theme that I have in mind and I want it to be like the center of the song arrangement I'm working on, then I'll try to experiment with sound design or just searching for a specific timbre, whether it's like an acoustic instrument or something I already have, and then trying to find the perfect fit for that section. So that happens as well. But when I'm just trying to create, I'll usually start with rhythm and then build from there. And then when I'm trying to arrange something, I have harmony is usually the first uh, thing that comes in the creative order of things.
Right. When you're coming up with synth patches, do you generally try to make them in a way that's like playable on the piano, or do you try and make them in? Because I mean, when I make synth patches, I'm literally just holding like one key on my QWERTY keyboard and like
Yeah,
tweaking a knob or something, so it like doesn't matter if it's playable or not.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. For me, it's always playable. So I always jam a little bit while I'm adjusting it and try to see what can come of it, come out of it.
mm,
Um, like I've been using the Juno 106 a lot for that kind of stuff, and so it kind of inspired some kind of sonic categories in the VSTs that I use as well. But it's pretty much always played like unless I want to kind of like more special effect where it's just one note. I'll do something that's kind of closer to what you were describing, but most of the time
mm.
it's to be played and play chorus or a bass line or something.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's such a different way than I approach synthesis. I literally almost all of my patches are not playable on a piano. They're all just like you hold them down for like 10 seconds and they do this big like growing thing and like sound
Right.
all
Which is amazing. Like there's so many different approaches. It's amazing.
yeah, totally. What's your process for coming up with riffs? Because I feel like this is like a huge problem in my workflow actually is I often don't start from like an actual musical idea. I will start from like a technical process,
Mhm.
and then usually from engaging with that technical process, some idea will come out of it, and then I'll be like, "Oh, that's interesting," and then I'll grab onto it, and then I'll start making something out of that, right?
Right.
But I feel like probably the way you go about it is like the other way, right? It's like you come up with the thing first, and then you apply the technical process to the thing, so it sounds better.
I guess so, but I also like depending on the sounds that I load, the sounds will kind of dictate the sort of riff that comes out of it as well. So the sound will very often inspire the riff that follows because I won't play the same thing like if it's like a sort of like percussive patch or it's like more of a pad patch. Obviously, I won't play in the same way because I'll be limited by the initial attack of that specific patch.
Mm,
So it'll really dictate what comes out of it. Um, Same thing if I'm trying to adapt something that I already wrote, it will be like pretty much drastically influenced or shaped by whatever timbre is used. So I guess a little bit of both, really depending on the context or my mood, to be fully honest.
yeah, totally. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I should probably get a piano. Like literally my desk setup is like just mouse and keyboard. Like that's it.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
from your setup in Denver, but it's amazing to watch you create it. I was like really blown away.
Yeah, I really I don't know, I'm always like envious of people who can just like play shit in super fast though and get results very quickly.
Well, I kind of get what you're saying, but I could say the same from you, like how quick you are with like just all of your Ableton workflow and the way you come up with sound so quickly. Like you developed your own, workflow. You didn't have access to what you're currently naming, but then you have this whole other area of expertise that came out of it, right? So I
Mm,
think like obviously like there are always new tools or skills that you can acquire, but I feel like creative limits, whether it's something that you impose yourself, or like just naturally you don't have access to something, will always create something else, right? Like I feel
Right.
like you can actually like really stimulate your approach to creativity by not having access to something, whether it's a certain piece of gear, which is most of the time not really that important, or having like a specific set of, not necessarily rules, but like a context, like, okay, I have to make something at that specific tempo today because it's kind of out of my comfort zone. And then you can
Mm.
really surprise yourself. Or I have to use this type of sound, or I have to use this mode or be in this key that I'm less comfortable with. And then something cool can come out of it.
Yeah. How often do you subject yourself to these creative limitations?
Well, quite often, sometimes like, so when I say that I usually load like a couple of sounds to get started. Um, what I'll do in most of the cases is that I'll try to make as much stuff as possible with what I loaded without importing anything else. And then if I at some point I do break out of it, but in certain cases, it something really cool comes out of it, I'll just stay with those for a long while for most of the arrangement and then add finishing touches. But just having that initial kind of frame that will change each week with the new sounds that I kind of incorporate in it. So I guess that's kind of a way of having a frame that I do often. But once in a while, I'll try to do either a sound design challenge where I have like, there are a lot of challenges in producer communities or discords online
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that,
Totally.
where like you have to sound design all your sounds from like one sample or something.
Right.
That's something I'll do once in a while. Or like on a harmony level, you know, prioritizing a certain type of chord movement or a certain type of chord quality, and then trying to make a whole riff out of that specific idea or concept that I'm trying to improve on.
Mm.
That's also something I'll try once in a while.
Did you ever write music before you knew music theory?
So I'm very biased because I started music as a kind of like classical pianist, and I also started music theory lessons very young as well. So
Uh,
I've been in that world since I can, remember.
mm,
Uh, Basically for me is I started writing before producing, but then producing opened this whole world of possibilities for me that was absolutely crazy.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, I still don't know music theory, and I'm like 33 years old, and I've been doing this shit for like 2 decades.
Well, you don't need it. That's the truth, the simple truth.
Yeah, I try to tell this to some people, and some people get mad, and other people are like, I agree with you because I too don't know music theory, and I want to believe it. you know, I feel like people are always just like, you know what the right thing is to do, the shit that I do.
That's like very pretentious.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, of course. But that's just how people are, right?
well, yeah, I guess maybe not everyone, but there's definitely some people that will get offended by that. But I mean, I'm in a position where I'm biased because my whole background was centered around that. But even then, it's just I think that it's a lot of options, but there's never like a right way to do things, no matter how much knowledge you have about it. Like, break the rules.
Mm,
Obviously, if you know the rules, you'll have more like freedom to break them, or like at least more understanding. Like if you want to, let's say, do something more simple by taste, if you know the more complex options, you might be
right.
able to do it in a better way. but
Yeah. I think
but with
knowing
that
the
approach, like you can always learn and improve any aspect of anything that's creative, right? So it
yeah,
doesn't
totally.
really matter.
Yeah, I think when you know the rules to something, you know like the outer edges of like
Right.
where shit has been. Like you know all the paths that have been trodden. And I
Mhm.
think once you know all the paths that have been trodden, you can be like, all right, well, now I'm gonna try and go into some new ground. I feel like without learning all those rules, it's kind of impossible to start breaking new ground. But you get a lot of producers and stuff who are like, oh man, I'm doing something that's like so fresh. And then you listen to it and you're like, not really.
Yeah, well, that's a good example of like where knowing what came before kind of helps, but it doesn't necessarily have to be music theory. As far as like maybe being a little bit more familiar with like a certain repertoire, like
Mm,
diving in specific like repertoire of like just music history, whatever era it is, because there's just so much music that has been made, can like really kind of broaden, I feel like, your options and make you aware of what has been done. I think that can be really important to kind of move on and maybe understand what's being done. But then also like Oliver, I mean, I include you in this, like Oliver Peers. There's just so much amazing music that's being done nowadays, and I feel like trying to like keep up with that can also really help.
Oh man, it's so hard to keep up with. It's like an impossible task these
Yeah,
days.
yeah, it
There's
really is.
I was in a studio the other day. So Porter Robinson did his like second Sky show here or
Right.
whatever, in Oakland, and a
Nice.
bunch of producers from SoundCloud came out here to check out the show, and among them was like Paper Skies, who I think is from Toronto,
Right.
and
Awesome.
Eli Derp was out here, and another guy called Kazuki, another guy called Def Sharp, and just basically like a bunch of these like 18-year-old producers who have like 2 to 400 followers on SoundCloud, like really really small producers. But I like went to this studio that they rented out for a day, called Gulch Alley Studio in San Francisco. It's up in like the Tenderloin / Russian Hill area,
Okay.
and I just walked in there and they were like, it was kind of weird that they rented a studio because they were all just like sitting on their laptops in headphones, but
Right.
in a studio. And all of their music, man, they like played me all of their shit, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, how are none of you guys like massive? All their music is insane, and they're so young, and
That's so
it just,
inspiring.
I just had this kind of like realization that there's just like probably hundreds and hundreds more of these like 18-year-old producers who I haven't heard of, who are just insane, who are like really really like all, like I would consider these kids to be like better producers than me almost. And
I totally get what you're saying. I've had like a little sneak peek of that in within like my sort of like Twitch Discord by extension community, where like just I host like these kind of like monthly beat challenges,
mm,
and most of them are around that age as well. And every time I'm just blown away by the sheer amount of like, I guess, like creativity, talent, but also hard work. Like from one month to another, the progress that I've seen like over like a period of like maybe 4 or 5 months, like I always like all I always enjoy everything that I'm listening to, but sometimes like after 2 or 3 months, I'm like, okay, this is getting like absolutely crazy. Like they're like hungry for, like getting more knowledge and more experience and more techniques, and then they're like actively exchanging resources, and that's
mm.
that's crazy. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the same thing as like where I was at with guitar when I was 18, you know. It's like you
Mm,
just have so much time when you're that young.
hmm.
Like when I was younger, I used to play guitar for like 10 hours a day or something. Still didn't know music theory, but like I was able to just sort of listen to anything and play it, because I was just playing so much.
Right.
And I think it's, and also not only did I have the time to play that much, but I think like, you know, when you're younger, your brain is also in that more plastic state.
Yep.
Or so not plastic's probably the wrong word. It's in like a state of neuroplasticity where it's like more malleable, and you're able to soak up information a little bit easier than when you're in your
Yeah, I
like
think like
30s or something.
the learning curve is like exponential.
Right. And then when you couple that with the fact that these kids have literally grown up fucking watching TV on an iPad for their whole life, and like, you know, they've had the internet. Like dude, the generation that I'm talking about, these 18-year-olds, I'm pretty sure probably don't remember a time when internet didn't exist, right?
No, exactly. They grew up with it since they were a toddler.
Right. Yeah. Whereas like I like distinctly remember coming home one day from high school and my dad being like, "Hey, we have internet now."
Right.
And I also distinctly remember a time before I was in high school. I think I was like in late elementary school, like year 6 or something, when my dad and I were at a bowling alley, and they had like a computer in the bowling alley, and you could put $2 in it, and use the internet for like a couple of minutes.
Wow.
And I remember like using the internet in this
Damn,
bowling alley and just being like, what the hell is this fucking weird box thing that you just put
that's
$2 into?
amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Puts things in perspective.
Right, exactly. So it's like if you take all of those things like time plus neuroplasticity plus internet and technology from day one, it's
Yeah,
just, it breeds these incredible producers.
absolutely. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably, I don't know if it's the same with piano, right? Like, you're probably insane at piano when you were 18, right?
Uh, I don't know. Well, I mean, I did grow up with it, so it's been a part of my life for a very long time. Um,
So yes.
well, you're very kind of say so, but I don't know. Like, I wasn't as it because it's always relative to maybe like the environment you're in or the people that you're comparing someone to.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
I mean, I've been very privileged and fortunate to have access to like amazing teachers for a long while. My mom is a musician, so I had access to that since I was a kid. My dad is had a radio show that was all about classical music, so my
Oh
whole
wow.
environment and life was like centered around that, right? So I had access to it like very much early on. But like, let's say as soon as like I started doing like I don't know, like contests and competitions, that kind of thing, which I didn't really enjoy, especially in the classical world. Like, there were so many kids that were way more crazy than whatever I could like imagine like getting to as far as like level goes. I mean, some kids just didn't have a life, whereas like my life was pretty balanced. I was like always practicing and trying new things, but I never really got to a point where my whole day to day was music, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
I've had periods where it was more intense for a couple of weeks, or like I was really trying to get my repertoire like solidified. Same thing with like production or trying to finish a track. Sometimes I get really absorbed and spend like multiple days where it's most of my days. But like as far as like months or even a year, I've always tried to keep my life as balanced as possible, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a like strict training or practice regime currently, or?
Yeah, so I don't really I don't really follow like a necessarily like in terms of hours or like I need to get to this point, but it's super important for me that it's at least daily so that there's something that happens every day. And then the
Mm.
priority will shift or the focus will shift depending on if there's like an upcoming deadline for a song or something, or I'm really working on an arrangement or I have to prepare something for a show. I'll the like proportion of practice versus writing or transcribing or practicing for a show or something will like really vary depending on what's coming. But all of those different elements definitely happen every day. And then there's like one day in the week where I don't do any of that if possible. And then sometimes it doesn't happen. But I try to have a complete off day where I don't do any of that, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I kind of do the same thing with Ableton, but I think I just sort
Nice.
of do it naturally. Like, I'll just open it every day and like do a couple of things. So long as I'm in the
Perfect.
studio. If I'm traveling, I find it difficult to do. But I guess like when
Mm.
you're traveling for touring reasons, so you're just playing every day anyway, like in like sound check in the show, right?
Yeah, but it's definitely not the same as practicing at home with like that environment and then having a set goal for something or a concept that you're working on or something. And well, I'm kind of curious, like, so would you say that you're not able to create when you're away from your studio, or like do you try to still come up with ideas or
I generally don't when
right?
I'm away from my studio. I've tried to before and I have before, obviously, but
Mhm.
it's not like preferable. And I generally find, I mean, these days I only ever leave the studio for like to tour for like 2 or 3 days at a time usually.
Right.
Like, I'll go out, do like 1 or 2 shows and then come back. I don't really like doing the long grindy tours anymore.
Hmm.
Um and so that's fine. Like, I just go out for a couple of days and just do the show and DJ instead of making music and then come back and make music. But what would you say the difference is between like playing a show and practicing?
Well, with a show, you're not like actively repeating something or in order to incorporate it or like develop it into something, you're just playing the continuous show. So you're kind of keeping up with your physical, like, I guess, like capabilities or like dexterity just because you're doing it often, but you're not necessarily improving because you're playing the same show. Well, in my case, even though like it's even further than that because it's a very prepared show where there's not like a lot of room for exploration. There will be more in the new version of the show that we're going to start putting together at the start of next year. But it's like definitely not the same as like sitting down and trying to work on something by repeating it. If you have an area, you start over and then you play it slower and then you try to make variations out of it. That doesn't happen when you're giving a
Mm.
performance.
I actually have a good analogy for this with mountain biking.
Okay.
Yeah, with mountain biking and chess actually. With mountain biking, which is something I got into massively in the pandemic, I was like trying to get better at it,
Nice.
and I realized the way to get better at it is when I like see a section that has like a jump, or a section that has like a really crazy berm, or like a section that, you know, has a drop, or like something that's technical or hard to
Hmm.
do. If I did what's called sessioned it, which is like where you just keep doing it over and over again, you get way better way quicker than if you like just ride the whole trail down.
Mm,
Because if you ride the whole trail down, then you only experience that little technical part once. But if you do it over and over again, you experience that little
totally.
technical part like 20 times in a row, and then you like build the skill way quicker.
That's a solid analogy.
And the same thing with chess, right? Like I was trying to get better at chess during the pandemic, and I found like just playing games of chess online would get me better, but nowhere near as fast as if I just did the chess puzzles that were on the website, where they just keep
Mm,
spitting out like a position, and then you're like, what's the
specific
best move?
situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That makes total sense.
on chess.com or Lee Chess, yeah, you can just like click puzzles and just do a bunch of puzzles. Do you play chess?
I don't. Well, I used to when I was like in elementary school, so it's been a very long time.
Mm, yeah.
Nice.
Um, how is the logistics of touring with a band? Like, are you still, have you gone back to doing shows since everything's gone back?
I haven't actually because I'm waiting for the basically I'm working on this album right now, which will be my first full-length album.
Mm,
I've had like the project of doing it for a while, but in 2019 I was touring a lot and not really inspired as far as like a new chapter goes. And then 2020 it started to take shape with challenges as well. And then I've been like really on a streak for a while now. So basically the first single is coming out in November, and then from there it's building right until like the album drop in April, and then we would start touring again after that. So basically I'm getting the band together again at the start of 2022 to start putting that together. And then
mm,
basically we're not going to be touring before that because the show as it was before, in my mind it's like it's over. I'm just moving on to to this new version of it, basically with like the new material and repertoire and all of that.
mm.
um so yeah, that's basically it. I made like little appearances like as a piano player, I guess, like in local uh situations or gigs, but like very, it was very scarce.
Right. Man, that's so cool that if you like play piano, you can just like rock up to gigs and play and shit. That's, I mean, I guess it's the equivalent of rocking up to a like place that has CDJs and just being able to plug your USB stick in and start DJing. But
Totally,
I
totally.
feel like it's just way more impressive to go into a bar and just like shred a piano. Like I remember one day I was drinking in a pub and some guy came in who was like really drunk on like wine, but he was like a crazy piano player and he was just playing like all this weird Irish music and shit. And I was like,
That's so
man, that's,
cool.
I was like, that's the coolest shit. I wish I had that skill.
Nice.
It's like one of those things that you wish you had it, but it's like, are you willing to put the time in for it, right? Feels like one of
Yeah,
those
it's, I
things that
mean,
just takes a
it's
lot of
you,
time.
you kind of need to choose your priorities and what you're most interested in, and but also motivated to kind of do.
Yeah, totally. Um, cool, man. Well, I got some questions from Twitter and Discord. Usually when I
Okay,
do these podcasts, I'm like, hey,
sweet.
I got so and so on the podcast. Do you want to ask them anything? And so we got some questions. And I also always get some questions from my manager too, because he just um I always just ask him, hey, you want me to ask this person anything?
Nice.
uh so his question is who is more obnoxious, jazz snobs or EDM snobs?
Hmm. Interesting. I I must say I'm not sure I'm that familiar with EDM snobs, but I'd be curious to
Okay.
hear your thoughts on it. My initial reaction would probably be jazz snobs. I hate jazz snobs. But that's my answer is very biased because I'm not that familiar with EDM snobs.
Right. EDM snobs are like anything that was made after 2008 is bullshit, and like, you know,
Oh,
back
okay.
back in the day, like Aphex Twin is the best shit ever, and everything else like pales in comparison and
Wow. Okay.
stuff like that.
Interesting. For jazz
I
snobs, I
mean,
think there are like
yeah.
multiple type of jazz snobs. I guess like one of the classic ones is like I guess like the school or like jazz university mentality where like everything is like, jazz didn't start like in a curriculum or school environment. It was very much like the voice of the people, and obviously like very much linked to the Black people's like social justice cause and everything, especially like bebop. But like that's where it initially started with, like as a kind of response to the oppression that those people were experiencing, and then eventually evolved like in multiple currents. And then what's like jazz today is many genres of music that have that common influence like as a starting point, right? And so I kind of get annoyed by like people that are a little bit more like elitists that will say that's not jazz. Well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah,
That's kind of like,
what is jazz? I mean, it's just some wrong notes thrown in there, right? Basically take any genre and play some wrong notes and then it's jazzy, right?
well, yeah, I mean, there's where like maybe there's like a lot of dissonances. There's like free jazz that's like fully embraces that, and it just like it gets crazy, and it's about timbres and fluid interactions between musicians. But it's just there's so many sub genres that come from that. uh I don't know. I think
What is your definition of jazz?
my definition of jazz, well, what I just said before, it was that it was a starting point in a very specific like historical context, and then it evolved into multiple branches that each have their own uh social and historic context or musical context. And a lot of people, obviously, like as with all genres of music, people across the world now have their own way to approach whatever they're creating with multiple influences. So I think there's so much music that we're listening to today that, whether it's a conscious decision or it's just or it's not, have some roots in that initial music movement that was defined as jazz. But I think it's much broader now. So I that will be my explanation, even if it's still very broad. Is that it's a lot of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Everything is a lot of things, kind of.
There you go.
Except very specific things. They're very specifically one thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Totally. Well, I mean, there's harmony. The harmony part with like the types of chords, chords with like multiple voices, um, alter chord, you know,
oh,
those are type of chords that
I didn't know
kind
that
of
shit
come
was
from
plugged
that.
in. You just had that shit there the whole time, and you just ripped
Y-
that out in like minute 46 of the podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah, that exactly. Like that's kind of when I hear shit like that, I'm like, that's jazzy. You know, it
Yeah,
just has
there's
like
definitely
a
jazz harmony, but jazz harmony is also a part of multiple genres. There's gospel harmony that's like very specific to gospel. There's harmony that's very specific to R&B, that's very specific to soul, that's
mm,
very specific to funk. Even if like on the funk side, it's more about I guess like the rhythm or the type of riffs that are played, because there will be like a lot of vamps where they stay on one chord. So it's maybe more like
like more
the actual
staccato
patterns
stuff,
or
and
yeah, but it there's jazz harmony, but then that's still very broad.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to define. I guess it's the same with like uh, defining electronic music genres as well. It's kind of like
Exactly.
what is dubstep these days? It's so broad.
Hmm.
It's like gotten way past just the simple applying the LFO to the cutoff shit. You know, it's like gotten so complicated now to where there's like spectral sound design and like crazy fucking comb filters and like delay lines to
Damn,
like
dude,
make all those like metallic twangs and shit. And it's just so
that's
much of
so
it has
crazy.
just become this big like hybrid style of EDM beats, I guess.
How would you define your music style?
My music style, I guess I would define it as like a lot of arps, like arpeggios. Like pretty much I'll take like any chord progression, just arpeggiate it a ton.
Right.
So there's lots of that shit, and then lots of sound design fills and just like really tight drums usually.
But like as far as like as a genre.
All right, like yeah, I guess I just explained it from a technical standpoint again.
It was super interesting though.
Let's see, as a genre, I guess I would just call it somewhere between glitch and dubstep, or
That makes sense.
yeah.
Nice.
But I don't know. I guess
Glitch
just
Bill.
yeah,
Bill Glitch.
that's like just calling you Nicholas Jazz. Dude, I'll
I think
legally
Bill
change
Glitch
my
is
name.
catchier.
I'll legally change my name to Bill Glitch if you legally change your name to Nicholas Jazz.
Okay, you have a deal.
Sick. All right. So that was my manager's question. Let's go to Twitter.
Nice.
Somebody says, "How does it feel having 14 fingers on each hand?"
That's I guess I will take it as a compliment, but I do not. I mean, I guess that person is using that as an analogy for dexterity or quick lines, or I guess I don't know. You know, as a piano player, you definitely start very early to work on hand independence, and I was fortunate to start very young, and so my right hand is well, it's pretty solid because of that. But I haven't really worked on my left one in the same way that I did for the right one. So sometimes it's a challenge to kind of balance it. And there are people that are much more impressive than what I can do technically. But I guess that's not the point. At the end of the day, it's really not important. I think dexterity is a tool. It's useful, but it's always important for me to put it or use it in service of what I feel the arrangement is calling for, and always prioritize taste and phrases. Phrases are the key. Always, always.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally agree. I think like the only way to start a piece of music that makes any sense is if you have a good riff or a good phrase or
There you go.
some like good little thematic motif.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Wax Future says, "What's your favorite mode of the major scale?"
I
So I
wouldn't say
guess
I have like a favorite mode or well. So okay, it's not necessarily a mode, but I very much like upper structure triads. So you basically have a major triad.
can you play what that sounds like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give some examples. Is you'll have a major triad, whether it's inverted or not, over another chord, so it can give various results. If you want like the altered chords sound, my bad. So I basically have a C major in the bottom register, and then so it's just an
Damn,
interesting way to
that
voice.
one chord, if you sit on it, the first one you played, that sounds so fucked.
Yeah, it really does.
But it sounds awesome in context.
But any tension becomes interesting or validated by the fact that there's a resolution after, right?
Right.
And then, well, I guess I like Lydian a lot. So let's say using the same approach of upper structure triads, let's say a D major triad over that same C. It's like very dreamy.
So sick. Man. So whenever I am like making chord progressions in Ableton, if I ever made any of those chords that you just played, I'd be like, "Oh, that's definitely wrong," and I would like change all the notes and shit.
Oh, but it's so happy.
That sounds pretty nice.
It's very
and
peaceful.
It sounds what's the word? Like harmonically contiguous, I guess, or like like
Nice.
all the that's probably not the right way to say it. What am I like all the harmonics in the spectrum are like either even or odd, so they sound
Gotcha.
coherent, like harmonically coherent, I guess would be the word. I think
Nice.
when timbres start to get like have a bunch of even shit and a bunch of odd shit going on, like I guess snare drums are like this or hi-hats are like this, so usually drums that are very noisy, or it's just sounds in general that are very noisy are like this. but I've you know, all a sound is a bunch of frequencies, right, in the
Right.
spectrum at different volumes, and that creates like different timbres and shit.
Uh-huh.
Which is essentially all like a chord is as well, but it's just like 6 or 7 of these very specific ones, where the fundamental is like significantly louder than the rest of the stuff, so it produces
Right.
this like very defined chord sound. But when those harmonics, I guess, are like slightly off in these weird ways, which are like these dissonant chords, I just I think because my brain is so geared towards making harmonically coherent sound design stuff, I go like, oh, that's wrong, and decide to change it. But
I get that. Well,
I
like
sh-
when you say that, like with synths, there's like very often some, well, I guess it depends on the context of whether other timbres are used, but I don't know. I find like, let's say like it's just like a chord with like three voices, like a minor and major chord, but there's like a whirly playing it, there's a piano playing it, and there's a synth playing it. Just because of that, there's already some dissonance going on,
yeah,
but there's
totally.
like, you can tolerate it. And I don't know, like just in an orchestra, there are many cases where like maybe a little bit less nowadays, but it still happens naturally because of the way the instruments just are. Um,
Mm,
like maybe like the first string section might be slightly sharper than like the cello section or the woodwind section, but it actually still makes the whole thing very coherent, and it makes it so that the melody just shines through like a little bit more. So like pitch is very much relative, as is tuning,
mm.
and dissonance is also relative to the context that it's happening in.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. I should think about this shit more when I'm making music. I feel like I don't. I feel like I always am so quick to dismiss shit that sounds wrong in isolation, rather than, you know,
I think
dealing
it's
with it in
really all about
context.
the context.
It is actually, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing myself a disservice by not thinking of music this way, I think. All right. Nyon slash Joey says, "What's your favorite video game?"
Hmm. Um, I don't know if it's my favorite video game, but definitely one of my favorite video games is Donkey Kong 64.
Oh,
It's
dude, yeah.
the only game that I completed at 100%, and I'm still very
Nice.
proud of it. It was a very delightful experience, and
Yeah.
I would very much like to. I think it's because I have a Switch. It's my like my main video game. Well, I guess like just platform. It's the only console that I'm really playing right now, and they're coming up with like the, you can play 64 games on the Switch very soon, and so I'm excited to actually go back to that game.
Yeah,
But
Super Mario 64, I think, was my one of my favorite games
oh
ever.
yeah, I mean that's a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think every other Super Mario is like not as good as that one for some reason.
It's
Maybe
very
it's
hard to
just
beat.
I don't know if it was just done really well, or if it's because I'm just nostalgic for it because I played it at a young age when I was just so into it.
Maybe
Um
a mix of
Probably,
both.
yeah, it's probably a bit of both.
Hmm.
All right, Kamisa asks, "Are you still going to collaborate with Haywire?"
Yes, we actually talked very recently. So I sometimes I I lose track of stuff that's in progress, including what we started together, depending on if I'm focused on a certain project. So the main focus right now is really the album, which has some collaborators on it as well, but there's still like a major chunk of it that's like very much solo. Once that's done, there's a lot of collaborations that I kind of like want to go back to. So we did start something with Martin a couple of years ago, and never really got to finishing it. But we did catch up a few days ago and kind of discuss going back to it. So I'm gonna say yes. I just don't want to promise like when it's gonna come out,
Hmm.
but I would very much like for it to come out.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think you and Haywire would make some crazy shit. He's shown me some. Yeah, he's also insane, man. Like
He's amazing.
his ability, his playing ability is crazy, but just his ability to like write crazy, like his ability to write like crazy jazzy like technical shit is awesome. But I love that he can also make like incredibly poppy sounding music. Like he just has such a versatility there.
Incredible approach and super creative approach to sound design, harmony, and the way he arranges everything. It's
Yeah,
it's
his sound design is also incredible. I
yeah,
I feel like he doesn't explore as much with sound design these days as he used to, but I know he has crazy sound design skills for sure.
yeah.
I think he almost like restrains in a lot of ways, right? Like he restrains from going as hard as he can with sound design and with his playing, just to like curate this very specific pop vibe or something that he's going for, which is
That's definitely possible. I mean, I sometimes that's the kind of thing that I'd be curious to hear directly from the creator, because like
yeah, totally.
we're not always like made aware of like every specific step of the process or like those creative choices. But I think it's really interesting that you're bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that way because I remember hearing his stuff in like 2013 and 2014, and it was just, I feel like there's a lot more experimental, maybe is the word for it, than his stuff now.
Right.
I have one more question for you. When are we gonna finish our collab?
Yeah, well, that's what I was also alluding to
Yeah,
by saying that that sometimes when a specific project comes up and then I kind of need, like, I know myself and I know the way I work. I'm giving like my entire energy and attention to that specific piece of work. So I want to say immediately after.
yeah, nice. I guess like I'm also interested in your album a bit as well. Like, is it kind of like a concept album, or is it like what's the idea behind it? Or like,
So
I guess
for
what kind of themes are you exploring with it and stuff?
it's less specific or defined than the two EPs were. The two EPs were, both of them had like the Montreal as like the inspiration or theme behind it. I guess like these tracks are potentially a bit more disconnected, just also by the fact that there's some collaborators that each bring their own influence and they kind of
Mm.
each have their own worlds,
Can you
which is
say who
fantastic.
the collaborators are?
Not now. There's gonna
Okay.
be the name drops will start at the start of next year, basically in
Okay.
January. So
Yeah,
the
I think
first two
this
singles I can say like that they're coming out in November and December. Those will both be instrumental, just to kind of start this new chapter. And then collaborators will start popping every month after that.
Oh,
Uh,
right. So there's like a bunch of collabs on the album.
yeah,
Like,
there's a few.
nice. That's awesome. How many tracks is the album roughly?
It's gonna be depending on what track ends up being an interlude or a full arrangement, because I'm arranging till December still, but it should be around 10 or 12 depending on
Okay.
my final decisions.
Right. What is the difference for you between arranging and producing, or
uh
is arranging just like a word that you sort of use synonymously with producing?
yeah, I guess the both angles are kind of like intertwined.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I'm stoked to hear it. I'm sure the collaborators that you have on there are insane. So
It should be very fun. I think I'm a little bit too deep in it to kind of have any sense of distance or perspective.
yeah, that happens, man. I had that with my recent album. I like by the time I'd finished it, I was just like, I don't even know if this shit is good. And I was like, I've done my due diligence of like putting so much time into it,
There
and
you go.
I can't think of anything else to do.
Hmm.
So I was like, I guess it's done.
Congratulations, dude.
Can you feel that way? Thank
You
you,
put it
man.
out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough thing to do. It can
It,
be
it
a tough
really
thing to do.
is.
It is for an album. I feel like for singles, it's a little easier because you're just like, oh, whatever it is.
Yeah, less pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome to catch up with you and chat with you. And
You
I,
too, man. Thank you so much, Bill.
yeah, of course, I look forward to the album, and yeah, I look forward to working on our collab after you're done with the album. And hopefully,
Yeah, me too, man.
when touring or when you resume touring next year, I'll see you on the road somewhere, hopefully.
Absolutely, dude.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, thank you once again, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, dude. Should I send you the audio on Twitter or